Here's your host, Patrick Duff.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? This is Patrick Duff. Welcome to the Gadfly Group. I am the host of the Gadfly Group and the original Gadfly of New Jersey here. And when I say the original, I just mean the original of the Gadfly Group. The actual original Gadfly, they say, was Socrates. The Socratic method of questioning things was not sought after back in those times, and got him in a little bit of trouble, just as it seems to get me in a little bit of trouble, Duke. So we are here to try to break some stuff down as the Gadfly Group, to try to help people, number one, become a Gadfly themselves if they want to, and number two, try to see what's happening inside these small towns in America, right? And listen, what better to do than to start with my own hometown, which is Delran, New Jersey, right?
Yes, sir.
And listen, first let me just say, questioning authority is one of the things that Socrates was known for. In every conversation almost that he would have, he would take the devil's advocate and to try to flush out the the truths of especially of a person, to question a person, especially one who is in power.
Yes.
Now, the reason why you do this is because those in power really do affect your everyday life, especially these local officials. 99% of politics is really local, Duke.
Right.
That's what affects people. I mean, the federal money goes to pay the military. That's going to happen anyway. And when I say that, I mean, what real effect you're going to have on it is not as much as you could on your local politics, which has the real effect on your schools, has the effect on your streets, has the effect on the services that are provided to you. So,
right, and as a Gadfly, we get to see where these corrupt figures are putting their hands inside the cookie jar, so
correct.
to speak.
And you know what? You couldn't many years ago, but they created certain laws. There's a FOIA law created, the Freedom of Information Act law, and in New Jersey, that law they call OPRA, which is the Open Public Records Public Records Act, which gives access to public records such as employees' emails, council people's emails, mayor's emails, documents, receipts, quotes, requests for proposals, all these types of different things that you can look at inside of a town and see what is going on inside your town.
Everything on the record.
Correct.
All right.
It should be. Now,
In theory.
and that's where Socrates always found things quite interesting, that many of the folks that would do these, that would be in charge, were people that were easily questioned because there was flaws in their actions. Say one thing, do another type
right.
of. So, and it was very easy to question that type of thing because it was obvious as the nose on his face, but it wasn't to those around him. So, a true Gadfly sometimes gets in trouble, Duke. I mean,
Right? Yeah.
yeah.
We got to buzz around. We got to sometimes bite. We got to sometimes just be an observer on the wall, see what's happening.
And let's be honest, sometimes you got to be a little bit of an asshole.
And another thing is you're going to get swatted at when you come at these people. They do not
Correct.
like being challenged.
So tonight, our episode is actually regarding, as I said, my hometown, Delran, New Jersey, and we're going to be looking a little bit into the Carly Lloyd retirement event celebration. Now, the reason why, and a lot of people don't understand why it is that I got into looking at this, but I will tell you that it's not the first time, Duke.
Right, and it's nothing against Carly. We got nothing against the great player she is.
No.
And all these things.
No, I think it's actually pretty cool to say I'm from the same town. We're both non-residents now, but we're both former residents of the town, went to the same high school, and I wish her nothing but the best. But but this is not the first time I'm looking into a town. You understand? So I can say that in Delran itself, I'll just give an example that I was very questioning of things like Columbus Day. And it got me in quite a trouble then, too, in school. They literally put me into little closet classes rather than deal with my questions. similar to Socrates, got put in jail
Right.
for being the gadfly on the wall.
Went on trial for his life, really.
So, some of the things I've done, I was telling Duke that we're a lot of things are happening right now. They're very cyclical. Like we were doing a radio show almost 20 years ago, Duke and I, in Philadelphia, and now we're here doing one again. And before, we were the gadfly on the wall to the cannabis laws in this area. And look now.
Look where we are now.
Yeah, who would have thunk? New Jersey. You can, it's marijuana's illegal. Kind of.
Drive around with 6 ounces in your car, no worries.
That's what they say, but trust me.
Depends who you are, I guess.
Yeah. I would say it depends on where you're at, who you are, and how much melatonin you have. And or money.
This is true.
Poor people are generally treated very similarly, and so are rich people. So somebody driving in a real fancy Mercedes-Benz gets treated a little different than somebody in a old 87 Toyota Corolla that's all busted up.
Exactly.
But so some of the things I've done, Duke, is back then to be the gadfly on the wall. At that point, I needed to really try to figure out how I would publicize cannabis and find an avenue for cannabis legalization. And what we did is when we had the radio show, we had a lot of big names on there. I mean, names that now people, praise, like Jack Herer. Jack Herer, by the way, it's Herer. It rhymes with terror, Herer. Was on our radio show. We had Mark Emery, the Prince of Pot.
Yeah, great interview there with Mark.
Yeah, we had the LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, when the organization just started. And now it's a massive organization spread across the country of law enforcement officials that just say no.
Against prohibition.
Against prohibition, because prohibition is what's dangerous, folks. Really, the war on drugs is not a war on drugs, it's a war on people. And that's just the truth. And one of the other people that we had on that show, I'm sure you'll remember, and I've been through a lot in my life with this gentleman now, was New Jersey Weedman. And New Jersey Weedman and I decided that we would go to celebrate the end of his probation, that he was going to go to the Liberty Bell and get arrested at the Liberty Bell.
Yeah, I remember that day clearly.
Yes. And, and I had no intention of heading down to the Liberty Bell with him, but I'm an avid caller of talk radio, I'll say, and I called a African-American station, 900 WURD, and the host was a guy named Dr. Reggie Bryant. And he was still one of the best radio hosts I've ever heard in my life. And Dr. Bryant was on. I said, "Hey, Dr. Bryant, I wanted to tell you that there's a gentleman that came on my show who announced that he's going to go to the Liberty Bell and get arrested. And that when he does this, that he's going to do it intentionally to challenge the federal cannabis laws."
Right. And I remember when you guys did get arrested there, and we had a date in the federal court. So
yes.
Why don't you tell a little about what happened there?
Well, what happened actually is we intentionally got arrested, by the way, several times on purpose. We wanted to see what happens if a black guy and a white guy get arrested for the same exact thing at the same exact time. Will the treatment be the same? And the first 2 times that we were arrested, he was fully searched. I was not touched. And the 3rd time, finally, they actually did search me slightly. We went back several times, and they finally did give us a court date. Went to court. We were found guilty of cannabis charges, and Ed was given a harsher sentence than I was. Now, we did exactly the same thing.
Same thing, same time, same place.
Same place. He gets a full search. I don't get touched, not just once, but twice. 3rd time, I literally told them, there was a video we had made that we put out, and we said that when we come back, you might want to try to search the white guy, too. It's not looking too good right now. So we kind of proved that we went on and actually won that. Because we appealed it. We stayed the sentences. The judge actually threw it right out. They threw out the conviction or the sentences. Imagine this, but upheld the conviction and sent it back to a lower court for more hearings, which the lower court just never had more hearings.
Yeah, they just quashed it there.
And during that time, I had moved out to California and decided I was going to open up marijuana dispensaries that were also churches and be the gadfly on the wall in California.
Imagine that. I went to school for audio engineering at that time.
Yeah, that's where Duke was. So here we are. He's got the mixer in his hand. I'm back with some pretty cool stories. I can tell you that, that going to California and open all those dispensaries. I mean, opened a total of 7 different dispensaries. I was known as the most rated man in Los Angeles, which is not a good title to have. But I can tell you that just in the same, the same token, in the sense of what happens to Liberty Bell, one of my friends that was African American who got raided and who only had one location wound up going to jail for quite a long time. And another friend that was Caucasian who made a rap video where he said F the feds in the rap video and put his fingers in the air. He wound up getting 22 years. Luke Scarmazzo, still in federal prison right now. So if you're hearing this, we want to free Luke. We also want to free, there's a gentleman in New Jersey right now in cannabis charges that was arrested. I forget his last name. Daniel was his first name, but he was arrested for running his own little dispensary. And
I heard about that.
Yes. So, and that's part of being a gadfly, is that a lot of these new dispensaries that are going to come in are going to be, corporate owned and corporate run and very expensive. And, so when people create their own avenues, sometimes the government doesn't like that, right? So
they want their hands in the market there.
Correct. So what do we do about that? Was the question.
And why do they want their hands in the market here? What are they doing behind the scenes that the regular people aren't aware of? What kind of loopholes are they pulling through? What kind of special tricks are they using to increase their profit margins and take away from other
zoning?
people?
Let me tell you what, zoning is one of the number one things that politicians use. What they do is they create these zoning regulations that will zone certain businesses in certain areas, and before they do that, already have access to the real estate or own the real estate.
Right.
And it increases that value. I believe, what was the mayor of Maryland? That was Spiro Agnew, was caught doing a land deal for that back in the 70s or something. So, these deals are as old as man himself. There's probably, Adam and Eve. And then once Jim walked in, Jim's like, hey, Adam, how much for the apple?
Yeah, it's as if some of these guys know the future, what's going to happen, and they know how to plan it out and take advantage of the situations.
Correct. Well, they do plan it. So that's the planning meetings and things like that. That's why you want to be able to know what's happening at these meetings: planning meetings, zoning meetings, city council meetings, things like that.
Right.
So that's a part of what you want to be able to do. Now, tomorrow night, we're going to do a little teaser here. There is a big city council meeting in Delran, New Jersey, that is going to be going off. That there's going to be a lot of questions that are going to be asked of the mayor and the council there that have been raised by the work of the Gadfly Group. Isn't that right, Duke?
Why don't we get back to this here? Back to the story here about the situation going on in Delran. Yeah, the big council meeting tomorrow. And the Gadflies, we like to get involved here so we can, affect some change in our local municipalities and even farther and wider. But
well, let me say this. What I'd like to really express is, number one, Delran, I didn't want to get into this as I have. What happens is when you put in these OPA requests as a journalist, as an investigative reporter, you're looking for anomalies. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for something that's different, looking for something that makes you say, why is that, or what's that? And that's part of being a gadfly.
Well, take us back. What brought you to the story originally? What caught your eye?
So there's a forum or a group on Facebook called Delran Residents. I think it's called the Delran Residents page.
Okay.
When I just basically have been an observer. Watching. I don't really say a lot. If I do, it's, You know, I jump in, jump out, but I have not really engaged much in a long time there in that group. And
Well, there was one thing that you mentioned to me a couple weeks ago. If you see a politician with a shovel or there's fireworks going off, there could be something's
missing.
Something to be found.
Something's about to be missing, you know, because what happens is, like, when there's a lot of money about to be spent on a project,
right,
that literally can go up in smoke like fireworks.
And I think that's the crux of the situation: is how is money spent? How is the taxpayers' money being spent? Where is it going?
How transparent
right
are the lawmakers with you about that money being spent? And I can tell you, in this situation, I was not the gadfly at first. There was many people in Delran asking questions already. I believe that one of the school board members, Mark Oberg, put a very long post on one of the Delran forums questioning the costs and asking how they're going to pay for this.
Right. So this situation caught your eye, your watchful eye.
Yeah, well, that I didn't even see until later. But I can tell you that the Township of Delran was talking about it. What I saw was a simple post that just says your tax dollars at work. And it was fireworks just blowing up.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought to myself, well, you know, it's kind of silly when I see people arguing over certain things that they don't really know what they're arguing with, you know? Like, what are the tax dollars worth? How much did it cost, right? So if you're arguing, right, well, let's say it costs $4,000. I mean, whatever, you know?
Right.
It's $4,000, you know? Well, it cost $40,000. Well, that's a large chunk of change, right?
And if it costs $120,000, whoa.
Yeah. So as you get higher, obviously you want to figure out where the money's going and things like that. So all I wanted to do is solve one simple question for the town of Delran, which was how much did this celebration cost? Because once I went back and started looking, I went, wow, this has been a question for a while.
Right.
So on October 14th is when they had the celebration, by the way. It went from 5:30 until 8 o'clock. Okay, it was in Delran. They had buses set up. They were set up to have thousands of people, literally. But only a couple hundred people showed up because they had it on the same night as the Thursday night Eagles game. And we all know what happens when the Eagles are playing. Nothing else happens.
Happened to be my birthday that night.
There you go. Now, so that night happens. Bing, I see this post, tax dollars at work, they're going back and forth. I said to myself, let me just answer this simple question, right? So I go in and I do a OPA request. I'm going to read exactly what the OPA request says. First of it says, this is a request for public records made under OPA and the common law right of access. I am not required to fill out an official form. Please acknowledge receipt of this message. Records requested. All costs paid by Delran Township to facilitate the Carly Lloyd celebration. Yours faithfully, Patrick Duff. I mean, that's a pretty simple request, right?
Pretty simple, yeah.
Should have been a very simple... Listen, that's where it should have ended. I should have got the costs back. They could have had all the costs, all the purchase orders. They already knew everything prior to the event. It's not like costs appeared after the event.
Or did they?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to still figure this out because that's what we're going to get in here. I want to show how this works so people can understand that I was merely relaying information.
Right. This wasn't some personal vendetta against a politician.
I never heard of Gary Catrambone in my life before this.
Right.
Okay?
Or the city council president.
No,
or
Tyler Burrell. I think the last time I was in Delran, Tyler Burrell was still, I mean, no offense, he might have been in diapers.
If that.
I mean, exactly, if that. So it's nothing against these politicians, but it is against the politicians for not answering the questions the correct way, and it is against the politicians for doing stupid stuff like putting me on the Facebook page and making claims that are untrue. So, quick rundown here. So I get this budget transaction. It says, this is what it says: budget transaction, Carly Lloyd celebration. You'd think that's it, right?
Yeah, it seems
budget
innocuous.
transaction, Carly. So I open it up. On it, you got fireworks for $12,000. Okay, you got golf carts for $22.50. You got some porta potties and an event restroom trailer, like for the rich people. Let me be clear. Tommy does not use a porta potty. Only a event restroom trailer. All right, that was Governor Murphy. You're not allowed here.
Governor Murphy, we'll get to you later. So
You're
thank you.
coming back later. We got a stage. They say the stage is $19,500 in this. We got SSE party rentals for $1,443 and $380. Now that's the cost they got.
What does that bring us to?
$37,633. Okay, and 88 cents. That's the cost. That's the total cost. Right? It says budget transaction. Remember what I asked for?
And this is from the original Oprah request.
Correct, the original Oprah request. Now, what's interesting is that when I put this in, I released the information to the township in the forums, and people went nuts.
Right.
People went crazy.
They came at you with pitchforks and torches.
It was, and listen, I understand the love for Carly Lloyd. I mean, that's what was happening. People
It's
were
expensive.
upset.
She's a national hero.
But let me tell you what,
National treasure.
When you're being attacked by like 40 soccer moms, it is definitely a little bit stressful. I can assure. If I was anywhere close to those human beings at that point in time, I might have had to run down the street. I mean, people were angry. Let's be honest. Patrick Duff was a polarizing figure in Delran at that point, extremely, and it was generally only me on the one side.
Right.
But that is the job of the Gadfly, is to ask these difficult questions. And I wasn't even asking a difficult one. I was just asking how much something costs.
Right.
So people came out and they said, you know what? That's not how much it costs. It didn't cost $37,000 because there was donations.
Oh, yeah, the donations were going to offset the public costs.
Correct.
Taxpayer money.
Right?
Right.
So I go back and I say, thank you for your prompt response. Listen, I'm trying to be, this is as nice as you could be, right? I did not see any cost associated with police hours and the township employees involved in the event. Could you please provide those as well? She said, we do not have them yet, right? I said, sorry, I don't have that. She said, sorry, she doesn't have that. I'm trying to go back here. I said, would it be possible for you to supply me with the invoice for the fireworks? Let's see. And I said, I apologize, one more thing. Was any of the $37,633 in the expenditure report offset by donations? If so, how much donations were received? If not, do you know the separate amount of donations that were made to throw the event? Pretty clear, right?
Yes.
So she sends me another spreadsheet. Now, what's interesting is on this spreadsheet, there is some costs that don't appear on that first spreadsheet, but do appear here. Particularly one to Go events. So if you look on here, there's these payments to Go events that are on this sheet. Let me see here. Yeah, $27.50 to Go events is right here, and there was another one for $3,200. So on 10/14 and 10/7, you have two payments to Go events. Now, you also have about $35,000 in donations that are listed here.
Okay.
Right? So, but there's only about $28,000 in costs. Remember, the other one was $37,000 in costs.
Right. So the donation should have covered this whole celebration.
It should have.
And I'm guessing that's what the town people thought when originally, this all started to come out.
So I write back. This is kind of confusing. Could you please let me know how much of the $37,633 came from the township and how much came from donations? I want to get as accurate of info out there as possible. That's a pretty clear question.
Very clear.
I said, this report is missing a couple of the sponsors from the donation list, Starbucks and Sports Paradise. The expense audit also does not expense for the DJ and the Soul Cruisers listed for $59.50 and $15.50 PO for the first students. I did not see any costs associated for busing or personnel to operate the buses. Please provide a full list of expenses and donations. So I'm just trying to really get a full list here because at this point, literally, I'm getting lit up like a Christmas tree online.
Right.
I've got people going crazy. So I get another response back. It's just the the quote for the fireworks. So here's what she says. Response to me asking about the donations. The $37,633.88 in expenses from the first report provided were paid by the township from the recreation special programs budget and were not offset by donations. I have attached another copy of the report. So So she just attaches the original report again. Now, that doesn't include the other costs, right, that were in this last report, too, which were for Go events.
Right.
I don't know why the Go events was left out, but I think we're going to get that in a second.
We're going to get there. Huh?
But it was left out, purposefully left out of that first report. So then she comes back and says that none of the donations offset this $37,000. Now it's very confusing.
Now, why don't you take this time to tell the listeners here why the township needs to keep the numbers at a certain threshold?
Well, no, I'll get to that in a minute. But I can tell you that what they do need to do is provide truthful answers in these Oprah responses. So when somebody asks for you for all costs associated with this event, you should have all costs associated,
especially since it's after the event.
Correct. It shouldn't change.
There's no other costs coming in on the price of the event.
Correct. So then I get another list of budget transactions from 9/12 or 9/21/21 starting there, and it shows all the different budget transactions that go back and forth. But it doesn't show. It only shows $19,500 for the stage, right? So there's only $19,500 for the stage that's shown here. So, as an investigative journalist, you want to figure out what's going on. I make a call to Starlight,
the stage company,
to the stage company. I wanted to find out, hey, I saw that big, beautiful stage at the Carly Lloyd event. How much did that cost? Could I get a stage like that for my own event? And I find out that the lighting alone, he says, costs more than $20,000. So I know that this quote for Starlight is not accurate because they're saying it's only $19,500, and if the lighting alone costs more than $20,000, then where's the rest of the money?
The numbers aren't adding up there.
They're not adding up, right? And then this Go events is on here. They weren't on the other one. Now you got all these different donations on this. So nothing's adding up. So I put out, I put that information back out to the Delran public, and people get upset again. They're telling me basically the clerk responded wrong, and it's my fault. Basically, I should wait for the clerk to clarify her response.
Sounds like a little Stockholm syndrome we got going on.
I don't know what it is. I can tell you, it was odd. So I said, you know what? Let me crack this open a little bit. So what you can do, folks, listen. You can make Oprah requests for all kinds of things. So I said, listen, since these POs aren't matching up to, these different audit trails are not matching up. Let me get the POs to all these different vendors. Let me see the purchase order, see how much it was.
Right.
You can show it to me, right? And I was stalled on that. They stalled me. So while we were waiting to get the purchase orders from the town, we went down to the township, Duke and I, to have a little word ski with the mayor. Now, what had happened in the meantime is that the mayor put up a post on his Facebook page questioning, basically trying to get me to stop questioning things in Delran, and also claimed that I made allegations of defamation and coercion from a person that had was one of the main donors to the event at the Carly Lloyd event, and also had a variance out for a sports complex in Delran, which I never did. So if you can imagine, this mayor makes this allegation online about me, and I'm not really too keen about it, so I wanted to go challenge him publicly, and we did that.
And that's another tangent offshoot to this whole story is the variance issue, the zoning variance issue.
Yeah, and which was odd because, listen, I found out there was a variance by one of the donors, but it's not something that I was bringing up. It's not something that I was pushing. It was something that somebody else had mentioned on there. But the mayor himself in his post, that's what he talked about. He talked about there was bribery and coercion, allegations of such made by a non-resident. He was referring to myself, which I never did that. So I wanted to go and show up at the council meeting and challenge him publicly to see what the mayor had to say for himself. And what the mayor had to say, remember, we had costs of $37,000, $28,000, donations of 35,000. So all these different numbers that are coming in, none of these donations are offsetting the costs. It didn't make sense, right?
Right.
We've got the people at Starlight saying that the lights cost more than the cost that they're showing on here for the 19.5. So none of it made sense. So when we did go to the council meeting, I got to question the mayor and ask him, how much did all these things cost, Mayor? You know, how much did everything cost? Question him on the Facebook policies, which are against free speech. You know, did a lot of questioning. But what we found out that night, and what the mayor stated, was that the actual costs of the event weren't 37, weren't 28. They were $90,456.
And there is a huge difference from 38, whatever the number was, in the mid-30s to $90,000. So
Correct.
How do we get there? What's the backstory behind this?
Well, what they try to say is that first list of $37,000 only included those items that were actually paid for already. Right? That was the excuse. Now that being said, when you look at that list, what's not on there is Go Events. So it triggered me to look into what is Go Events, who are they, especially because Go Events are the ones that hired the DJ and the band. And guess what the mayor is? The mayor is a DJ. So I was interested to see maybe there was some self-dealing going on here, or some sort of, self-enriching by the mayor, or somebody that he knows, or a relative, or, you know.
It seems as a DJ, he should be able to get a good deal for the party.
He should. Now,
maybe he got a good deal for himself.
it looks like here that they paid for a band and for a DJ for about a 2-hour event. And I believe the band played for an hour. They paid $5,950 for a township event.
Been in a few bands, been around the world doing some shows. Never got a $5,000 check.
Never. Well, listen, you've never played and been paid by Delran Township, the big spenders over there.
I guess that's where I went wrong. Huh?
Yeah, you got to find out when they're retiring for big names in town.
Yeah.
But so if you can imagine, so now we learn that the cost is $90,000, not 37, not 28, and that we learn that the donations are $46,166. And what he says very clearly is that donations offset 51% of the costs. Now, that's quite confusing because in the email, the Oprah request, Jamie Eggers, the clerk, said that none of the donations, which they showed, I guess, what, 28,000 or 35,000 at that point in donations, had to offset any of the costs they shown, which was a 37,000 cost at that point. So I guess they were trying to say that the other portion that they didn't show was the one that was offset by donations. I don't know how the hell they do it, or they think that, but what they're doing is they're hiding. They're omitting facts on purpose. They omitted Go Events on purpose. Now, why would you do that?
Yeah, what's the logic behind that? I think we're going to get to that here.
Right now. So when I go to the, by the way, what they did, Duke, is it's called bid splitting. So they took, they had bids for TV screens, for a stage, for audio, for engineers.
Right, and by law, the township has to provide the bids, right?
So anything, any contract that's going to be above $44,000, they have to put out what's called an RFP, a request for proposals. And they seek proposals from professionals
for fair bidding.
For fair bidding, competitive bidding process.
Keep the prices down for the taxpayers.
Correct. To make it fair for the taxpayers and also for the bidders. So they can try to get some work. I mean, government contracts are what lace people's boots in the morning on a lot of companies. Let's be honest.
That's true.
Without them, you'd have many companies just go out. So government contracts are something that people seek because it's somebody that's going to pay you.
And these RFPs are a safeguard for our local communities for transparency, to make sure that the money is being spent in an appropriate manner.
Correct. And also that the person that's taking the job can take the job because they have to put their qualifications in. That's part of it. Now,
right.
But anything that's above $44,000, they have to seek an RFP. There was no RFP sought in this. There's quotes that are for well above the 44,000 that the township had. But what they did is they instead went ahead and split these quotes up.
That's where the bid splitting comes in.
That's where the bid splitting
to avoid
comes
the RFP, to avoid transparency, to avoid
correct.
To hide to fudge the numbers.
And also, for some reason, they had to put this event on by October 14th for some reason, which again was the same night as an Eagles game.
And Carly Lloyd still played games after that.
She just played her last game, I think, last night for Gotham.
Yeah, saw that on ESPN.
So here you have this Go Events company that is, what do you call it? That hired the band and the DJ. Now, the Go Events company that hired the band and the DJ, what they did was when they hired the band and the DJ, the person that signed off for the township for Go Events is the actual the township administrator, Jeff Hatcher. And he's the one that ordered the actual Go Events contract. The person that signed the Go Events contract for Go Events is a guy named Alex Glover. The person that owns Go Events, at least the registered owner, is a guy named Frank Catrambone.
Sounds familiar.
Now, they both work at a company. Frank and Alex both work at Center Stage Entertainment, who, if you go and you look at Mayor Gary Catrambone's financial disclosure, that's where he works too.
Who's the owner of this Center Stage company?
The owner of the Center Stage company is Frank Catrambone.
Frank Catrambone.
Yes, so Frank Catrambone is both the owner of Center Stage and also the owner of Go Events. And the thing about the owner of being the owner of Go Events is that he's the relative and co-worker or partner of the mayor.
With the mayor.
With the mayor.
And that's a problem.
It's a big problem. And he's getting contracts. Mm-hmm. Okay, listen, there's contracts that Alex was hired prior to this too, to hire bands.
Right, we can show that this is not a one-time thing. This isn't one offer. This is something.
No, they actually hired bands in 2018. One for $2,400 for the Delran Night Out event in 18, and another one for $3,400 from Delran Night Out on 2019. Right, but what's interesting is they also hired DJs for those. Okay, and they hired DJs for the Winterfest, and it shows that the DJs were either $350 or $275. Now, the bands were $2,400 and $3,400, right? So the Sensational Soul Cruisers being $3,200 or $2,950, that might make sense.
Yeah, you got all members in the band.
But the other DJs did those gigs for 10 times less than it was paid for the DJ.
For peanuts.
Yeah. So, peanuts, if you're getting paid the other, yeah. If you told me I can come talk on the microphone for 2 hours and you're going to pay me $350, I'd be good with it.
Not bad.
You know, I mean, listen, that's just what it is. But let's say like this. So here you have the mayor, who's also in charge of the recreation committee, in charge of getting all these contracts, who is his partners or co-workers and works with both this Alex, I can't believe I don't remember his last name right now, but Glover, and Frank Catrambone. Both of them work with the mayor,
with Gary.
Yeah, and then what you also have, which is so odd, is Alex is getting the quotes for all these other services. Getting the quotes for the TVs, getting the quotes for the stage, getting the quotes for all these other services.
And he's an employee of Center Stage.
He's getting the quotes as an employee of Center Stage Entertainment.
So he's getting the quotes for the township as an employee of the township.
Well, that's a good question because he should be, right?
Right.
Somebody on behalf of the township should get those quotes, or an entertainment consultant that works on behalf of the township, but not an entertainment consultant that works at the same company as the mayor.
It sounds confusing if you're out there and you're listening and you're a little confused. It is, because this kind of thing shouldn't be happening. There should the same person who is working for the township should not be working for the company that he's getting quotes from. That's a huge conflict of interest.
Not just that. I mean, what's the Delran administrator? He sees these quotes that are coming in that are being got by Alex Glover, and then the quotes that he's getting by Alex Glover he then has Alex Glover sign off as the representative for one of the quotes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. And Jeff Hatcher is listed as the contact for the township for Go Events, not Tyler Burrell, not Colin Rafferty, the kid that's the head of the rec committee, not Mayor Gary Catrambone, but the actual administrator of the town signed off on this Go Events being a part of it, even though it's pretty clear from just the quotes that were received by the town that Alex Glover was an employee at Center Stage Entertainment, where the mayor works.
As the town turns, my friend. As the town turns.
As the town turns. So, this being one of the first, actually the first episode of the Gadfly Group podcast, we'd like to first thank Carly Lloyd for having her retirement in Delran and having such a grand celebration.
We love you,
her.
Carly. We love you. Nothing.
Yeah, no hate. No, I'm not kidding. Not just no hate. Listen, I think you were used.
Right.
I think you even said you wanted a low-key event when you're up there, and you're looking around. They got lights flashing. You got all these politicians. Everybody's holding hands, you know. Listen, you put me on your fan page. That wasn't cool. You know, I literally got hate messages. People were going crazy on me. I think my own niece unfriended me, you know. So, you know, we're talking about some serious stuff here. But listen, as I said, I don't really blame you. You were used in a situation where these politicians, for some reason, needed to squeeze this event in on October 14th, just 2 weeks prior to the election.
Yeah, could it be the election was coming up? And we had another special guest of honor at the Carly Lloyd celebration in the form of
Tammy Murphy.
Tammy
So,
Murphy.
I mean, and Troy Singleton was there. I mean, pretty much the biggest name in politics in South Jersey were all there. So this was a campaign event.
Right. That's
To
exactly
me, it was a
what
campaign event. It was not a Carly Lloyd event. And the money that was spent on the event, even though the township taxpayers asked at hearings, asked on Facebook, asked several times, the costs were never shared.
Nope.
So me going out and getting the costs was just the next step, and that's all people need to do. Listen, people of Delran, OprahMachine.com. That's Oprah, OPRA, machine.com. And you go there and you can make your Oprah request to the township. You can find out what's going on, get their email, you can get their contracts, you can see really what's happening in the township of Delran or any other township that you want.
Shovels and fireworks.
Yeah, if you see them holding shovels or shooting off fireworks, there's probably somebody that's about to get robbed, and it's you.
There's some fat being chewed there.
It's you. I mean, let's be honest. It sounds, you know, a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there doesn't sound that bad. But when you have potholes in your street, and while there's fireworks going off down at the other end, and your car tire blows out, as the last fireworks goes off, I don't think you're going to be too happy. Like, oh, look how pretty that is. Well, you have a blowout and you're changing your tire on the side of the road because the town doesn't have services that are proper because they're being siphoned off to people's companies, and that's just not the way it should be.
Right. So as we're starting to wind this down a little bit before our next episode, can you tell how the tide had kind of changed a little bit as you started presenting more articles and more information to the general public of Delran?
Yeah. So once I actually started presenting the fact that this person that owns Go Events is also the person that owns Center Stage Entertainment and is Gary's basically business partner and family member. People started asking some questions. Literally, it seems the tide had turned from me being like Frankenstein and running up the hill to, coming down like Edward Scissorhands, giving everybody the haircut. You know what I mean? People were happy to see me with the scissors on my hands now, but they weren't before.
Right.
So this is just a way to tell people of Delran and other towns, listen, you have the power to open up your local government. You have the power to be a part of your local government. Right now, the Recreation Committee needs like four people on the seats. That's the people that plan these events, okay, in your town that you can be a part of. You can be a integral part of making sure that your money's not wasted.
Right,
okay?
and that's very important these days.
Yeah, and if you're in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania, it's called a right-to-know request. You can file a right-to-know request with any municipality. For the police, you can get all types of information. Don't be scared to ask. They can only say no. So Be the gadfly on the wall. Be the person that asks the question. I'm going to be the person that asks the question tomorrow night.
Yeah, so what's going on tomorrow night? We got a town
7
council
o'clock,
meeting.
Delran Town Council. I believe there's going to be some news vans out front. The mayor is going to have to answer to what happened. I mean, what's going down there in Delran? Why are you giving contracts to people that you work with? Why are you having somebody you work with getting quotes for the town? Jeff Hatcher, why are you signing off on a contract with a guy that you know, or you should know, works with the mayor at the place listed on his disclosure statement that shouldn't be associated with anything he's doing? So these questions should be answered tomorrow. Whether they will or not, we don't know.
That remains to be seen.
That remains to be seen. But as the gadfly on the wall, we know we will see something.
With that being said, the Gadflies will see you on the next episode, coming to you soon. Anything you'd like to say in closing, Patrick?
Finally, the last portion of tonight must go to my good friend Gary Catrabon. Listen, I got nothing against you, bro. All right? Whatever you did, you did. But you put me up on your Facebook page. You made claims that I did stuff that I didn't do. You should have apologized about that. But I have nothing against you personally. If this is the only time that you've ever done this, then so it be. Come out and say it. Be a man.
All right.
You know, but hiding like this and not saying anything when at the beginning of this you were so willing to come out and toast me like a piece of white bread.
Marshmallow on a campfire.
It just ain't cool, bro. So I thought you were DJ Gary Cat, you know? Step up to the mic tomorrow night. Explain to the townspeople what's going on. If this is not a one-time thing, this is just how you do things, you need to resign.
That's it. So we'll be looking for more answers tomorrow night at the town council meeting. Again, that's at the municipal building in Delran. If you'd like to show up and see that, you can come to Delran.
And remember, last time, there was quite the bit of fireworks, and that was without knowing that the mayor is doing some self-dealing and bid splitting, and that the council is involved in doing it too.
And we're going to be live streaming the event on Facebook. You can get to Patrick's Facebook page. You want to give them the
It's actually going to be on my New Jersey rabblerouser.com you can go to, or just rabblerouser.blog. We'll have the link there. And if you want to sign up to the Delran Facebook page, it's Delran Residents Official Facebook page, not that really stupid Delran Residents 2.0 page run by the Delran Communications Director.
The Delran Communications Director. Well, that sounds like a topic for next episode. Time, yeah. Well, it's great to join you tonight, Patrick, and we'll get back on these microphones and keep bringing the issues out to the people here in the future, and we'll see what we can uncover.
And until next time, who knows if that's the gadfly on your wall.